Good afternoon. Today is the 27th of October and it's time to do a video that has been delayed multiple times on the channel. We're going to look at E10 Petrol in relation to MGs and Rovers made after 1990. You might think this is a very specific topic, and why would anybody be interested specifically in this? But because I own a Rover that was made in 2003, there's actually been, just within that small community, a lot of questions about E10 Petrol. I myself have made 2 E10 videos on the channel, one in 2020 and one in 2021. They're not brilliant by all means. There's other people now who've made vastly superior ones, such as Ian Seabrook from Hubnut, Ed Westby from Twin Cam. But in terms of just generally the specific topic, because I am more familiar with these cars, a lot of people have been asking me about this. And I've actually got some information here from a gentleman by the name of Scott Biddlecombe, who is an expert on this particular era of MGs and Rovers, and he has released a statement which came out a couple of months ago, but it just shows you how long it's been sort of planning this video. So we're not going to be talking about other makes of car today. We might, if there is actually demand, talk specifically about them. I'm not an expert in this field in terms of engineering, so it's really up to you to actually choose what's right for your particular car. I can speak from my own experience of the car that we have. Unfortunately, I'm not in it today because I'm doing a lot of sort of work on the road, and 30 miles per gallon in an old 45 V6 doesn't always work very well when you're trying to actually run a business. So I sometimes switch the Rover for my mother's Mercedes that I'm in today. It's just the way that it's turned out. I was supposed to record this a long time ago and I haven't, so we're not sitting in the Rover today, although we were earlier this week. Yes, I think that's enough of these sort of caveats. I should probably get on with actually talking about E10 in relation to these cars, because some of you actually want to know about that, don't you? The strange thing is that the government say really that no MGs and Rovers before 2005 are compatible with E10. I don't think that's actually true. They can say that if they want, but there's a lot of information out there that suggests otherwise. I have been running E10 Petrol in my 2003 Rover 45 V6 since the fuel came out in late July. And it says September in a lot of sources, but actually the fuel was available late July. When the first time I bought it was with this Mercedes, I think on the 20th of July. So I actually have had no problems running a Rover 45 V6 on E10. It actually runs slightly better on E10 with slightly better performance and better economy, which is absolutely bizarre. You think, how is that possible when it's an old 2003 car with a KV6 engine? One of the things that you can look up is the information on the official government website about Land Rover petrol engines. And Land Rover petrol engines, according to their checker, say that any petrol Land Rover after 1996 is compatible with E10. There were 2 main engines used that overlap between Land Rovers and Rovers and MGs. One of them is the K-Series engine, and the other one is the KV6 engine, both used in the Freelander, and both used in Rovers and MGs from the sort of early mid-90s onwards. the thing is that the KV6 and K series engines were updated for various Euro emission standards from Euro 1 in 1993 through to Euro 4 in 2006, although the company went bust about a year before that. But a lot of countries were actually using E10 petrol from sort of 95 to sort of 2000. I think Australia were using it by then, although I might be wrong. Maybe Australian viewers could correct me about that. And so K series and KV6 engines from about 1995-96 onwards are compatible V10 and can run on it with no problem. I wouldn't have a problem at all suggesting someone who's got a K series engine in something like, I don't know, Rover 400, and saying you're not going to have any problems with E10. You won't have any problems at all. Your car will run perfectly well on it. Now, this is quite a narrow thing, because from 1990 to 95, lots of other engines have been used. There was a Honda D series engine, for example, that was used in a lot of the sort of older Rover R8 models. And there was the Rover T series petrol engine. Now, I don't actually know about the Honda D series or the Rover T series, if those are E10 friendly at all. I really don't know. The T series wasn't used really in Land Rover products. There was a predecessor, the M series, I think, and the O series, that were used in Discoveries, but those were the early 90s. So I'd be a bit cautious about Honda D series or T series engine, but K series KV6, I really wouldn't worry about that at all. It's up to you whether you want to use the E5 Super Unleaded with those. And some people say they give better performance. I mean, I've run my 45 V6 on Super Unleaded E5, about 99 octane, and it does give it, I think, more performance. But if you want to sort of save money and you're, I don't know, just looking for somewhere to put petrol in it, and we use our car on a very frequent basis. We use it about 3 or 4 times a week, so it's not one of these ones that just goes to shows and things, and that's probably why we can get away with not thinking too much about leaving petrol in it and things like that, because that's really where E10 can be a problem. You leave the petrol in it and it can start to cause problems with sort of going off and changing state and things like that. So if you are going to be using your car sort of frequently, and then not using it at all, that might be something that you need to look into a bit more. But certainly K series KV6 engines between about 1996 and 2005, I don't think is really a huge problem. Just to address something as well that I've heard with the later MGs from 2011 onwards, all cars sold in this country, and indeed in the European Union when we were in it, should have been compatible with E10 from 2011 onwards. But MG's 2 models that were sold between 2011 and 2016, which were the MG3 and MG6, they've had some really weird stuff about that. Sort of said that you can't run an MG3 on E10 or an MG6 on E10. You can run a petrol MG6 on E10. You can run any petrol car on E10. It's just the long-term effect on the engine might not be great. I mean, I'm very much sort of thinking about things like the A series minis and things like that. I don't really know enough about that to be able to tell you, oh, you can run that on E10 or you can't. But if you are in an emergency situation and you need to put some petrol in a car to get home, you can stick E10 in there just for one tank, and that really won't do anything to your car, whether it's an old or a new one. It's for sort of more long-term use of it, which might be an issue. And I stress might, because we really don't quite know with a lot of these. But MG, just with a sort of legal thing about the older MG3, which we used to own, actually, we used to own a 2014 one, have kind of said that you shouldn't put E10 in it. But I think that's more of a legal thing, trying to cover themselves from potential lawsuits. I know MG3 owners who just haven't worried about it, and they've been absolutely fine. I know one MG6 owner who has been running a car with what's called the Compatibility engine, which is an upgraded K series, really, the Compatibility engine. And they've actually got a better running car with lower emissions than an MOT, which is kind of the experience I've had with the Rover 45 V6. So I don't think you need to worry about putting E10 in an MG3 or an MG6. I don't think you need to worry about it, despite what some things have said in some official statements. So I think that's kind of it. The only thing I don't think I have covered is the Ford V8 and the Rover 75 V8 and the MG ZT 260. I don't actually know about that. I haven't seen enough information to be able to tell sort of either way. I imagine it's probably okay because it's a American Ford engine that's used in a Mustang, so that probably will be okay. But I'd advise you to check if you own one of those cars. And thank you to Scott Billick from Discount MG Rover Spares, or the MGRS they call it, for the information about the fact that a lot of these MGs and Rovers can be run probably without any problems on E10. I do apologise if I've got anything wrong. I have tried to do the research on this video properly, but there's always a possibility that I might have been sort of wrong. The experience that I've had with our car, I can talk about that, and so far it's getting slightly better fuel economy, so that's always a plus if you're filling that up. Anyway, I hope you've found this sort of useful. It's a very specific kind of video, and I don't intend to keep making lots and lots of these because I'm not really an expert on them, and I feel that someone who's actually a mechanical engineer or someone like that should be talking about this rather than me. But because I've had so many people requesting that I continue to talk about E10, I thought I'd give it a go. But thank you ever so much indeed once again for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, leave a comment below. It all very much does sort of help out. But keep the comments sort of kind of nice and polite. Otherwise, I might have to remove them. I don't like doing that, but sometimes people get a bit silly, and that has to happen. But yes, I do hope you found that useful, particularly if you own post 1990 MGs and Rovers, because this is probably mainly who it's aimed at. Yes, thank you so much once again.